The global women's cricket calendar continues to expand in both scale and significance, as the ICC confirmed details of its expanded competition cycle, notably including Zimbabwe for the first time, underlining the game's growing geographical footprint. Meanwhile, Cricket Australia, Cricket Ireland and Cricket South Africa released their home international schedules for 2026. Down south, momentum continues to build around the NZ20, with New Zealand cricket choosing a franchise league as their preferred option to grow the sport domestically. Lastly, Australia and New Zealand sealed their respective 3-match and 5-match bilateral series 2-0 and 3-1 with a game to go. Let's dive deep right away. Off the field, Australia, Ireland and South Africa released their women's cricket schedule for the current cricketing year, marking yet another pivotal moment for the sport. It signals a move away from an ad hoc scheduling towards a structured high-stakes international calendar that mirrors the men's game in more ways than one. Before that, ICC announced the draws for the ongoing ODI World Cup Championship, highlighting which teams would be touring where in the cycle. Some of the key fixtures from the announcements include a tri-series hosted by Ireland featuring Pakistan and West Indies in May, Bangladesh's first ever series down under, and South Africa's first ever multi-format tour versus Australia at home. Not to forget, they have an ODI series and a one-off test versus India too. Elsewhere, New Zealand cricket gave their in-principle support to the NZ20, a 16 franchise competition representing a seismic shift for the sport in the country. Importantly, they have stressed on their intention to keep women's cricket at the heart of it all. Unlike the Super Smash, which operated under a traditional provincial model, NZ20 will involve private investors, including interest from IPL-linked groups. The board is specifically negotiating for ownership and equity within the women's branch, ensuring that the women's game isn't just an add-on, but a commercially viable, standalone product. While the support does not necessarily guarantee the commencement of the tournament, if gone through, it will be the first ever competition in the sport's history to start off with a men's and a women's league from the first season. This shift has come with its own problems. Notable board member Dion Nash resigned within hours of the announcement, citing a lack of alignment with the new direction. Critics worry that shifting away from the provincial structure might hurt grassroots regional representation, which the board is now scrambling to protect through specific regional representation clauses in the NZ20 contract. Sticking to New Zealand, after being beaten all ends up in the first game of the series, South Africa fought their way back strongly to equal the scoreline in the second match. Driven by starts from each of their top three, South Africa managed to put 177 on the board, thanks to some fireworks in the final over from the youngster Kayla Reineke. Scoring a 9-ball 28, Kayla hit 3 sixes of Divine in the 20th over and gave her side some much needed momentum heading into the second innings. She's already hit 10 sixes in her first 4 innings and is at number 10 in the list of most sixes hit by a South African woman. For context, Marizanne Kaap has hit twice that in 97 innings. A stable yet wide base, the clearing of the front leg to let her bat finish its arc completely, and the ability to keep her head still while doing so. Reineke is a throwback to unadulterated conventional power hitting in an era where modern batters have relied on the scoop or reverse sweep to find gaps. Add to that, her incredible bat swing has helped her score more boundaries even when the timing's been slightly off, despite the relatively longer boundaries in New Zealand. Reineke hit 3 sixes in each of her first 3 T20I innings, breaking the record for the most sixes hit by a South African woman in an innings while batting at number 7 or lower. Coming back to the second encounter, New Zealand's chase did take off without really progressing, as 5 of their middle order batters got starts without going much further. The experienced Ayabonga Khaka was instrumental in the win, chipping in with a crucial 4 for 27 to help her side get off the mark in the series. Importantly, Suzie Bates continued to bat at number 8, indicating that the side has logged it in to be the one to fill the void left behind by Eden Carson. The third game followed a similar pattern, as Kayla Reineke stood up with the 20-ball 34 to help her side get to 149, with 30 runs coming off the last 2 overs. New Zealand managed to register their highest ever chase at home, as Sophie Devine single-handedly smothered the South African bowlers to all parts of the ground in route her 50. The Proteas did not really help themselves in a must-win 4th encounter, as they dropped as many as 4 catches while defending a healthy total of 160. Elected to bat first again, there was a change in the opening combination, as Chloe Tryon swapped positions with Tasman Brits to partner with Sunil at the top, her first ever time in a T20 international. The move did make sense. While one could argue that Tryon might not be the most technically adept batter, Tryon's natural aggression would help her clear the infield more often than not and maximize the power play. Importantly, it would break the pattern of having two slow starters in Brits and Lees, beginning the innings for them. She was hard done by a very tough decision, as she was adjudged LBW to a ball which seemed to have hit outside the line of the off stump. While Tryon's move to the top made sense, the same could not be said about Brits' move to the middle order. A slow starter, she struggled to get going even more without the field restrictions. Anneli Dirksen though, more than made up for it with a high-class 50 while batting at number 3. A game played without the likes of Annika Bosch, Ayabonga Khaka and Maizan Ka, the Proteas will be hoping to field a full-strength side in their final bilateral series ahead of the World Cup against India later next month. The White Ferns, on the other hand, will be pleased with how the series has turned out for them. Jessica has been prolific so far, picking up 8 wickets in the 4 games. Mealy Curd and Sophie Devine have been scoring briskly in the middle order, and the Gaze Plimmer opening pair hasn't been too bad either. The move to use Bates as their primary off-spinner has a lot more merit than I initially thought. Very funky no doubt, but it is the only way they could accommodate an off-field while also having the experience of a Susie Bates on the field. And with the series against England in England before the World Cup remaining, the defending champions seem to be in good stead to put up a strong showing. West Indies meanwhile have only seen their problems compound as they went down 0-2 to Australia in the 3-match T20I series. I'd spoken about the lack of a stable number 3, and it was no different with 2 new names being added to the list, Shameen Campbell and Stefanie Taylor. The batting has continued to disappoint them, and it's put them in a very tight spot currently. Despite scoring as many runs and bounties as their counterparts, the home team has struggled big time to narrow the margins. A major reason for this has been their inability to rotate strike consistently. As pointed out by Hypercost in their tweet, West Indies in this series have batted with an appalling non-boundary strike rate of 46.6. Their opponent Australia has been batting on the other end of the spectrum with an NBSR of 75.2. Even in her 50 in the second game, their skipper Hayley Matthews scored 10 of 31 balls outside the boundaries, an NBSR of 32.3, and this was while chasing 165. It was also a bit surprising to see them promote Jazara Claxton ahead of Chanel Henry, but it did seem like something that had to do with the latter's fitness. She was running in quite gingerly in the first innings too. I must also say that I have been impressed with Kiana Joseph's improved batting range. Someone I was very skeptical about since the last T20 World Cup. A lot of it was down to her lack of feet movement and her need to swipe every ball towards the leg side. There was a marked change in the way she targeted shorter deliveries, and particularly the fuller ones outside the off stump. With their big names continuing to fail, she'll have to shoulder a lot of the responsibility for West Indies to even come close to repeating their 2016 heroics. New teams entering the global pathway, clear international schedules, emerging domestic leagues gaining traction, and elite sides continuing to raise the competitive bar. The gap between opportunity and performance is narrowing, and that's only making the global game stronger. If you want to stay updated with the biggest stories, tactical trends, and key moments shaping women's cricket every week, make sure you subscribe and follow the channel. Until then, it's a goodbye from me.